it being taxed on that property?
No, because when I looked into it further, as far as the tax goes, it's only for up until the ditch.
Until there?
To the ditch that runs through there, there's a ditch that runs through there.
So, not to bring another audience member into your business, but Jerry, didn't you say at one point that was a rail that used to run through there?
It has the railroad.
Yeah, it's
Rail
mine's
plant,
for loop.
See, Edward's got his, that's, Edward's got that land behind him, and everybody else had the chance to get
So
that
that's
land.
would almost have to say that you'd almost have to get surveyed and see if there's anything through the county that was deeded over. 'Cause a lot of times there's abandoned, not necessarily abandoned, but they forfeit their land on that. Something's usually documented
But
somewhere.
Vince Logan that had the property, he's the one that put in the orchard in there.
Yeah, I think the clerk and recorder and a survey would be the best way to answer our
That's
questions.
what to do. You
Yeah.
Have it surveyed and to find out exactly what is what.
Because when a survey company does a survey, they'll also work with the clerk and recorder and they'll trace those deeds back. And they'll figure out what went where and who got what and when it all happened.
That'd be a lot more exact than.
Way more exact.
Just speaking, if there's me, I've definitely had 1,000 years.
I think you had to put in for it to come on that
Well,
land.
that's just it, yeah, sometimes if it wasn't submitted with the previous landowner, it wasn't gonna follow, and then it just gets left over. Yeah, I would say survey, if you had good hard survey hubs, and it goes back to the documentation, hand it over, and there's no line at that point, it's your land, it goes to.
But everybody that I run into is already gone. The realtor company is no longer in business.
Also, the realtor, and that's kind of a second interview where she's talking on clerk and recorder, that's your hard line. And if there was even another.
Do they do the research? Because
They
I went
should
up there
be able
and they just gave me what I'm being billed for on my tax record. They didn't do any search.
A survey company will do that research for you, I believe.
I talked
You have to hire a survey
Edwards
company.
and see what he had to do.
Because, yeah, like he might have known which road he went down, and there might be the documentation of the deeding of the land that he acquired off of it, same thing, and it would be the same big acquisition documents. I would say. I think you're gonna get your best answer there, and then once we have that information, then obviously if there was something that should have been deeded over that was missed, that survey company that's not with the clerk and recorder, they're gonna do a lot more digging, and clerk and recorder is just gonna go off X's and O's.
Yeah.
What they have, where the surveyor can track down the other stuff. Like what he's saying with the evidence, he might be able to say it was part of the deal in 1972, and somebody has that documentation, saying property line from here to here through the other existing properties, and be able to tie that together.
The town.
But can't the town just do that
So
over?
towns don't pay taxes, so no, if it was the towns, it would be tax exempt. And- Right, no, but there would still be records at the clerk and recorder for that. So,
if
and
you
that's
want
what,
to
like,
deem
Red Lodge
over
survey
until
would
there's
look
a
into.
survey to go off of, that would be tough for anybody sitting at this table to say, here you go, without at least. And the survey company out of Red Lodge, they do a good job. They're familiar with the area, and they understand that these rural towns, there was a lot of things that took place through the years that they might be aware of. Like what you're speaking to, and it was before my time, Jerry's aware of it. And Everett's sharp, he might be able to tell you this is happening as well.
So in other words, I have to hire a survey company.
Because that's it. So in the world of realtor, I mean, they can go out and hammer their boot down and say this is your property line, but until there's a survey off of like a true pole hub, like a survey point, then it's only speculation.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
saying
don't-
you're wrong, it's just that that's the hard line in the sand.
So then it does belong to the city. Am I gonna be reimbursed for all the time that I spent taking care of that property?
I don't know if that, it's viewed as taking care of Boulevard or how that would.
So
that's-
that, when you first called me, I did ask that question to the town attorney and he said no. That would not likely never happen.
Would that be viewed as the same as if you own Boulevard? and
Correct,
take
if
care
you
of-
just,
mow
yeah,
your
you're
boulevard?
taking care of the boulevard in front of your house, anything adjacent
Yeah,
to your
but that's
property.
not a boulevard, that's a lot. Somebody can put a house up there. I'm sorry, it's not just 6 feet by
Right.
your,
And that
your
was-
property line.
Just a very brief conversation with him, I explained what you told me over the phone, and he just said that's unlikely to ever happen. In regards to the reimbursement.
So, only recommendation I would have, and I mean, council, if you got any 2 cents to throw in, I would say definitely start with a survey if, and any kind of track down you can find out, because that might have been neat work. It's unfair for us to speak something, we don't know, I'm gonna tell you yes or no.
It's
Yes,
gonna
a
have
metal
to be
detector to
surveyed
find a
because
survey
you got
pin if
the-
it's there.
From the clerk
I mean,
report
that's-
office in Red Lodge.
You can, and the
Technically,
Department of
what they're
Revenue
saying
is
here is that's
unlikely
your
to be taxing you on
Just
something,
standard.
or not taxing
Yeah,
you on
that's
something
what
you
I'm
already
saying.
own.
Right.
They've already
That's what-
figured that
that's
out,
what
and
I'm
they would be
saying.
taxing you if it was
Well,
free.
They got their
If
money.
it's surveyed.
they don't
and it comes to
usually
find
miss.
out that
A lot of
it was dated
banks and loan
somewhere
companies
way
want
back in
the
the day
property
to be able to
surveyed
find that
before
out.
you sign the deed,
Then
so it
that's
was
when-
probably done, I mean, it was probably surveyed
It might
then.
be pinned.
Then
It might be
You just have to
10.
locate it.
What-
We
what's
help people
gonna
locate their
happen.
pins in
Yeah.
future, but
As
it's of
far
course
as
not an
what
official
this is
survey.
showing
But if
right
you can
now
find them with a metal detector, you
Well,
can really search.
is-
That's what I mean,
this
I
is
can
your
go find them,
property.
I can't say that those are, you know,
That doesn't even
official
match
surveys.
the fact
I can
that
find
I was
them.
given with my deed.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're there, sometimes people find them and pull them.
I would,
And I
So
would,
damn.
I would definitely.
yeah, it is so damn hard.
When you get
They
with
don't
your
use little
surveyor,
stakes.
I would definitely.
You know, they use big ones. They
Until
do.
it gives them an avenue to
Yeah.
go down, go,
No.
okay, this is why this was orchestrated at this point.
Yeah, we could do it, I mean, person could go over there with a metal detector and find them.
Yeah, I definitely get more with those.
Yeah, I have to hope without having it surveyed for something that I mean.
And that's typically usually on property for sale, there should have been a survey done prior to selling.
There should have been.
Yeah, maybe
But
the
they
pins
should-
are there. They
The
just
town
have to
of
locate them.
Crawford should have some record of who got that property when the ones for Luke was
That's-
founded.
It's probably gonna be more on your clerk and recorder.
Yeah, those are held by the county. Those type of records are held at the county office of the clerk and recorder, not at the town hall.
Oh, yes.
I went up looking for records, and I knew exactly on that property the railroad is. To this day, Red Lodge has not been able to find the right ones. They really haven't.
And that's, yeah, I would, I mean, I think survey is a starting point and go from there, and then hopefully that, and then they might be able to pick something up, I bring whatever you got on it, because it'll show the point of sale. They might be able to see the last time, like she was saying, there could be the survey hubs in there still, of the existing, and that's where they pulled off and generated it. And if that's not handed into the county, like updated, it just follows the existing clock, and what it was mapped before, so. So it could be a mapping issue as well. Yeah, sorry to not give you the answers we were hoping for, but I would feel surveys and the county would probably be the biggest avenue to go. Anything else for the council on this?
Okay, but anyway.
Can we please move over to the bottom, and there's a reason, it's so we don't cover extra material.
So we have a motion by Kenny to amend the agenda.
Sorry.
Kenny would like to amend the agenda of moving resolution 532 to after discussion of town of Bromberg floodplain administration. We got a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor? Unanimous, passes. Yeah, and anything you can get again, definitely jump back on the agenda and let us know. Alright, so after the amendment, next line item would be resolution 533 to approve a spending policy.
So between Dennison and myself, I think we covered everything that you guys had for concerns. Last time we covered an emergency clause, and Dennison also added the no dividing into smaller purchases. That was not something I thought of, so he put that in there too. And he added, I think, the up to the 25,000 the mayor can authorize in an emergency. And then we defined what an emergency was. So basically 5 and 6 are the main changes from last time.
And emergencies described as a serious or unexpected situation requiring immediate action that affects the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens.
I move to approve resolution 533.
Motion. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 533. All in, oh, yep.
First for you, question. Some of your equipment that you work with, something where I had a breakdown was, it could be more than $1,500, you think? Depending on the equipment.
Depending on the equipment, and I mean quite easily, and that's where I said with the emergency was, a lot of those brass valves are very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, so if you start getting it where you're buying fittings, $500 goes so fast.
Yeah, but up to 1,500 with just mayor approval.
Yeah,
You'd
that's
be okay.
yeah
For
for the
valves.
most part.
If the mayor's not available, then the equipment's gonna sit, you won't be able to do nothing.
Well, I think it would go to the council president if the mayor's not available or
It would
his
go to whoever's in
designee.
my seat, or like she said, and then.
I think it even says that in here, the mayor or his designee, but let me find
Yeah,
that,
so
'cause I'm not
whoever
gonna swear
people
to
get a
that.
seat at this point, and then still present it to the council.
Yeah, town mayor or designee.
Okay.
And then special meetings can happen with 2 days' notice. So if we need, like if there's an actual equipment failure that we need it in 3 days, as long as we get an agenda posted, we can have a special meeting to quick approve those repairs. So that's doable within a couple of days.
A lot of the times when you, like, if we run across something, like a water break or whatever, that emergency, you got 2 days for locates or a day if you have an emergency. So
yeah.
it's like we have a
You
little
could do
bit
a
of time.
special meeting pretty easy, I think.
I think so.
Any other questions regarding? Okay, we have a motion and a second on resolution 533. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Next item, resolution 534 for employee pay scale.
That I have some more information from Derek Shepherd on that, if you guys would like it.
Yes, please.
He is not in favor of having wage resolutions that have a set amount, like a singular amount. He's in favor of a range that's about 10% from top to bottom. He likes that better because then you can do things based on experience, based on negotiation by that employee that you're potentially hiring.
So just to make sure everybody's on the same page, you're talking about the starting hiring wage? And
Yeah.
That's where your 10% is?
Yes, so like for example, I had put 21 in last time, just I threw out a number, and so if you took that same 21 and you made that the middle of your 10% range, your range would be $19.95 an hour up to $22.05 an hour. So you could hire an employee within that range.
Check if somebody's qualified.
But we already have an ordinance in place with pay scale.
Right, which I have not seen. Melissa has not come across it yet.
Your wife has a copy of it.
We have an ordinance
Okay.
already that has a pay scale
Right.
on it. That
So
Nottingham and all of them have already signed it, had already done it.
Okay. And where, do you know where it's at?
I know my wife found it in here when she sent it, but I'll look for it and get it to you.
But I mean, do you know what the wages are on it?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Because really, the reason I keep shoving this at you is I'm not ready to completely walk away from Fromberg yet, but I am ready for you to hire who I hope to be your permanent clerk. Because I would like to spend the next 3 months with that person. And it's really hard to hire somebody unless we know what we're gonna pay them. So wherever that one is, we can operate under it, but how old is it?
It's not that old, Tim signed it.
It's not in anything we've stamped, because I had Melissa specifically look for one.
I will find it.
I remember seeing something.
We do have one because
Okay.
Kelly come down and looked through ordinances, Kelly and Tammy, and they actually found it, and it was actually signed.
Okay.
One of the ones I know for sure was Tim signed it.
So,
Yeah.
would we like to table
4 or 5 years old.
534 to get more info about that?
I'd
Okay.
like to ask just a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that 10% hard and fast? Because the reason I ask, I think Carill's wage variance was way different when she started with Roseland Health. It was probably closer to 20%
Mm-hmm.
because it depended on experience. And so she missed the one vote of having like almost $1 an hour more by not having, I can't remember I think it was human resources or something like that.
Experience,
But
yeah.
had she had that, then she may be an extra $1. But like I said, it was a lot wider range than what you're suggesting, so.
I think, I didn't write it down verbatim, but I think what he said is I like a 10% range. I don't think he said it had to be a 10% range. I don't think he would be inappropriate to go wider at all.
Okay.
So, no, I think that would
If
be
you're in
fine.
a tough spot, and say you had to take anybody with a pulse essentially, even if you're at 20, you'd be able to get employment, just get you through that.
I don't wanna do anybody with a pulse, ever.
We won't, but I feel out here
But
when we're getting to
I can-
applicants, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
but you
promise you guys, I can't stay forever. Like,
Yeah,
this 3 months
yeah.
has been really difficult, and I am willing to go another 3 months because I think it's what you guys need, and I think it will help set you up to be really good, but I don't think I can go much longer than
Yeah,
that.
believe me, I
So,
understand.
you really are at a point where we need to hire who will be your permanent clerk, and I would love to work with that person for the next 3 months.
The other question, because you said you started 18 in Bridger.
We're
Was your-
1704 is what our department heads
1704.
start at.
So we could go 1704 to 22, 23 or whatever.
Yeah,
Except actually, our resolution starts at higher than that, we can't. So we have to wait.
Well, not unless you change it. Because if you were to pass this in whatever way we altered it, it would supersede whatever resolution you were speaking of. So it would become your new pay scale resolution. Do you know, does it have multiple positions on there, like department heads and general labor and stuff like that?
Department heads, it's just like public works, and secretary, and I think labor.
Oh, it does have labor in this
I
though,
believe so.
because that's a position that potentially, we may need too, so,
Would that be classified as a department head?
The
Being
clerk?
and?
yes. The
And
clerk
the
and treasurer would be a department head,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So, and your public works director is a department head, and your judge, if she wasn't on a contract the way she is, she would be a department head. So, if you had a police department, your police chief would be a department head. Those are all department head positions.
So I guess my other question is if you make this range, Bozeman Health has it to where if you have accounting for 5 years, you move up the pay scale this much. It isn't,
They probably have like steps and lanes, I'm guessing.
yeah.
And I have considered implementing a steps and lanes type pay scale for Bridger for a lot of years, but it's just never very recommended for towns so small. So I've never actually done it. I love the steps and lanes. I think they're really awesome, but I don't know how useful they are to towns our size. So, not that you can't, you can. And I can get you examples from other towns, because there are towns who do it, but they're bigger. They're like your Bozeman and your Billings and your
Okay.
Laurel and then a lot of the ones that have it are also, because I was going to say Glasgow, but then I hesitated because they're a union. So they have a CBA. So
Okay.
theirs is not comparable to us because we don't have that kind of stuff. So you really start to get out of a comparable range when you get those from other towns.
Okay.
So, But yeah, if we could get that old one, at least then we could advertise. Because I was really holding off till today to advertise. I know we're potentially even looking for some more help in the public works department. So it's tough to advertise when I can't tell them what you might get paid. People want to know that, and I don't want to hand out an application and a job description and say, I don't know what you're going to get paid. Just apply. You know, I have to have something to give them, and we're ready to do that. I think.
Was that 40 hours?
Yes.
40 hours. I thought
Yeah.
it was too.
Yeah, it's all based on 40-hour work week.
It is. So there's nothing defined for part-time help.
There was never been part-time.
That's
help.
not a thing, huh?
And
Yeah.
we never needed part-time help.
Is this, I guess my other question is just because I've picked up a phone and called towns that are similar to size, and there's a lot of towns that are similar to size in Fromberg. Not a lot of towns, but there's a couple of them out there. There's not a huge amount of us. But the deal is there was quite a few of them that were our size that did not do 40 hours for their clerk.
Correct. And for a really long time, when I've been over here helping you guys, I've said that. I don't think this position needs to be 40 hours a week. Now that I've kind of been your clerk for 3 months, you need 40 hours a week, at least to start with. There is no way there's so many things that you guys have that even I didn't realize you had because I had never helped any of your previous clerks deal with them. Your floodplain. What I'm trying to think, your RD reports. Those are things that I didn't even realize Fromberg had. And the reason they didn't matter before is nobody was doing them. You were 3 years behind in them. So I honestly have changed my tune a little bit. I think you do need a full-time clerk when that person becomes experienced in their job. If they stay for a long time, they can easily transition themselves into a 3/4 time person. But that would be years down the road.
But you could put that out there to them that when that point comes, there will be an increase in pay or whatever.
Yeah, like you mean if you wanted to transition them down but not reduce their pay or something like that. You could work that out later. That stuff is included in your personnel policy as far as like reduction in forces. So we have a full-time clerk right now, but we don't need a full-time clerk. So we're gonna have a reduction in forces and we're gonna go to a 3/4 time clerk, which is still basically considered full-time. So it wouldn't be a huge change, but if you went to a 0.7 equivalency, which is 28 hours a week, then that's not considered full-time anymore and it would be a reduction in force. So there are ways to deal with that.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
and potentially things could change. The amount of reports that clerks have to do increases every single year. 4 years from now, there might be so many reports that you still need a full-time clerk. It would just be something you would have to assess along the way.
And I talked to a lady here that put in for a clerk job a few years back, and she was told if she got the job, she had to mow the weeds, check meters, and everything. That's what they told her.
I would also like to get a very good job description for your clerk and treasurer put in place before we advertise so that I have a wage scale and a job description to give that person.
Yeah.
Now,
So
other
you have to have
duties
a
as
job description.
assigned is always in a job description. So yes, if you have a clerk and they're not needed 40 hours a week in the office, but they're willing to go mow weeds, then sure, maybe that could happen.
Right.
And you could probably even require it. But
Yeah.
It would just
told
need
that
to
the
be-
people didn't do it, it was hired.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, it's not unreasonable to have that, especially in a small town. I know one town, I want to say it's Seiko maybe, the public works director and the clerk are the same person. I'm like,
my goodness.
wow, that poor guy, but he does it all, and it works for him, and I think he's full-time because of both. And so small towns have to adapt to what works for them.
First came to the street. When you do the clerk, I don't know how much I'd like to have it reduced too much because I have ran into numerous incidents trying to get a hold of the clerk. They never call back. We spent days and weeks trying to get a hold of them to address certain things or ask questions about information and got
me?
nothing. No, it's probably that.
Okay, because I try to call people back, but if I missed
So
you,
we
I'm
left
really sorry.
voicemails, the whole 9 yards.
Mhm.
Never received anything. So not having access to get to the clerk and talk to them.
Mhm.
The clerk's essentially the information for what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really have changed my tune. I think you need to hire a full-time clerk. I really do.
Okay. No,
I-
I wanted to, you know the job best, so.
Yeah, in the 3 months that I've really taken over for you guys, I've learned a lot of things that you guys have to deal with that I was not even aware the clerk over here was dealing with. And some weren't, because like I said, you were 3 years behind on a handful of different reports. That I have all of them now caught up except those RD reports. So I'm working on them.
So my question to you, do you feel it warrants a special meeting once the document's presented, or wait till next month? Is time spent on this?
I don't want to put off advertising for the position for another month. So I don't know if a special meeting is the way to go. If you guys aren't comfortable deciding on something tonight, even if it's not this, we could alter this to some degree. But yeah, a special meeting might be a good idea then, because I really would like to advertise. I want to start, there's certain things that person could be doing that would not only take it off my plate, but would be beneficial for them to learn. And I don't want to do that until they're permanent. So it's not worth it if you're not going to be here to do it next year.
Yeah.
Alright, so on to the council, how do you like to attack on this?
Do we have enough information to put an ad out there?
Yes, I could put an ad out, but I don't find the Carbon County News very effective for job advertisement. I don't think I've ever gotten many applicants off of that. So my biggest plan was actually Facebook and maybe some postings in your 3 posting places. I honestly think that's a more effective way to advertise, and word of mouth. People will just talk about it. So, unless you guys want me to use the Carbon County News, I can. I have no problem with that.
I feel the money's spent on that, we're not really reaching now, and nobody really looks at it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't even advertise for my lifeguards and stuff in there anymore in Bridger. It's just not worth it. Nobody shows up by the deadline and they all call me 2 weeks later and we want to work at the pool. So, it's useless.
If we were to come up with a starting wage, we need to do that.
Yeah, so I'd be
We could do
hesitant to
that
advertise
tonight, or-
too much before doing that.
What's that?
I wouldn't want to advertise
Yeah.
too much in advance of knowing what the range is that they may get paid. I mean, I could start it off with depending on experience, knowing we're hopefully going to get something in place in the next week or so, if that's doable.
I would go with that right now. List the job out and go depending on wages, depending on experience. And then
Yeah.
I would find you that sheet and get it to you.
Yes, but even if that sheet has a singular wage, the depending on experience isn't going to work. We're probably still going to have to alter that to make a
Right.
range.
I agree.
So we're still going to have to maybe work those two together or use that one and
Yeah.
make it a range or some sort of change to it. So if you guys have a day in mind that a special meeting works, we could maybe look at that before we go tonight and see. Because I would be comfortable with that, especially the first couple applications. If the answer is, I don't know yet, but I'm going to know after this day. I'm comfortable saying that to people. That's reasonable to know. You're going to know after Thursday or whatever what the wage range will be.
Following Monday?
Yeah, Monday or Thursday, even if Thursday, if you can get it by tomorrow, we can do it Thursday. Depends on you guys' schedule.
I'm not available Thursday, like this coming Thursday.
How
I'm
is-
not available that day. The 22nd, I am available. The 22nd? Okay.
So we have a motion to table resolution 534.
I don't know. If you decide on the wage, you probably do it now, yeah.
We gotta go off that document.
Okay.
We have a motion from Mike to table.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor? Motion passes. Next line item, approved to purchase gravel for the streets.
Just 7 p.m. for the meeting. Does that work for everyone?
That was,
Okay.
Gravel for the streets.
yeah, 22nd. Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Is this different from the last one, or just adding on to it? Or?
no, we didn't ever buy it because you guys wanted to have it on you.
I guess my question, what streets you talking about, gravel?
It's multiple streets. It's actually the Mine Spur Loop on the other side. After I tear the asphalt out, there'll probably be at least 1 or 2 that go in there. A couple for the alleys, like probably 3 or 4 for the alleys around town. And mostly just repair and fix potholes in multiple roads.
Okay,
What about Lover's Lane? That's bad.
can't.
Lover's Lane is asphalt.
Cannot do
I mean,
anything on that end of town
That's
until
true.
you fill out a permit.
yeah, right.
A floodplain.
A floodplain permit.
Well, I can,
No.
as long as it's not in the floodplain.
Yes,
Where the
which-
burn pit is not in the floodplain.
The burn pit is on the
Yes,
end of the
floodplain.
floodplain.
Not where the gravel is. That we
Not
looked
where
it
you
up
got
on the
the
map.
Oh, right, not where you have the
So I
gravel.
can stack the gravel down there
Yeah.
and then move
Stack
it
it
from
there.
there
Yeah.
wherever
Yeah.
it needs
Right,
to be.
right.
But yeah, I know, we've discussed that, and that's why all the crap from down at the river is getting moved out of there, because it can't be there.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying is,
but yeah.
I caution you on doing the gravel, any of the gravel work down there because.
Yeah.
Until you get a permit.
I was kind of putting that on Nottingham for that, because I mean, I told him the roads I wanted to do down there, and
That is his job.
it is his job, and if we could not laugh about it, it'd be great, because this is like, public meeting, try to be professional, it'd be great. But I talked to Nottingham about that, he's supposed to be finding out about the permit, whatever permit we need to do. We can do it as long as it's bringing it to grade.
Yep.
If we're going above grade or adding gravel above grade, we can,
Right.
or we have to have a permit.
You still have to file for the
You
permit.
still
Right.
have to file for the permit.
So most of that, like I said, a lot of it will be on this side of town.
90% of the work is well away from that.
Right, there is a couple of roads and alleys on that side of town that do need to be done, and those are the ones I'm waiting on permits.
Right.
But
Yeah.
part of it will be Carbon Avenue on this lower end, Carbon Avenue on the upper end of the hill, and then Mine Spur Loop, and like I said, the alleys, some down cul-de-sacs that you
Now, Minesburg, is this,
the north Mine Spur Loop on the, after I tear the asphalt out, we'll see.
why are we tearing asphalt out, just because it's shot, or what are we
Yeah,
doing?
because it's shot, we're gonna repave that road.
So what's our priorities for, I guess, I don't have a problem with tearing it out, putting the
Mhm.
gravel down. But we keep putting gravel in some of these potholes that are just really,
I'm gonna be honest with you, we're gonna go totally away from putting gravel in any of them as long as we can. I mean, that street's going to be repaved, and then we're gonna go to patching, cold patching, which I hate cold patching, but it seems to be.
so the priority is Minesburg and school is off, or what? That's the.
That is the Minesburg, that's
Oh,
North
okay,
Minesburg.
the end
Yeah.
of
From the ditch
Minesburg.
going up to the school.
The ditch
Yes,
going up
yes,
to the
sir.
school. I apologize. So-
Yeah, no, that's North Minesburg, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
I don't care, we'll let Pop tear up the other one.
Okay.
So they are.
That's their problem. Oh, I'm sure of it. And they will, they'll fix it when they're
Put
done.
it back.
Yeah, they'll replace it. We'll see.
Yeah,
I know how good True North does. I've seen them do it twice here in town, and I'm not a fan.
That's what's paving.
They did all the repairs for MDU and did not do the repairs at all. Even though I showed them, this needs to be re-asphalted. This is where MDU dug up and did their boring.